Alright, we're talking about ratios and proportions. And a ratio is just a comparison of two numbers using division. There are some different ways you could write it. You could say x to y, so the ratio of something to something else. You could use a colon in between it, or you could use a fraction bar. A proportion is two ratios that are equal. And a scale helps you show a model of something, so a ratio is a good way to make a scale. And a unit rate tells of an item being compared to one of another item. So make sure you remember that on unit rate, it's one of another item. For instance, if I say I'm going 60 miles per hour, that's 60 miles in 1 hour. That's a unit rate. If I say, well, I pay $2 per gallon of gas, that's $2 per 1 gallon of gas. If somebody asked me the cost of gas, I could say I pay $6 for every 3 gallons, and that would be true, but that's not what you usually do. Use the unit rates. So the question on these is, are they proportions? So the easy way to tell is to set it up like this with two fractions where you can cross multiply. Remember, you can only cross multiply if the only thing you have over here are the two fractions and there's an equal sign. So I need to know if 24 times 2 is equal to 16 times 3. If those are the same, then I have a proportion. So 48 and 48 are the same, so yes, I have a proportion. Sometimes it's easy to tell when you write it. So 1 over 6, does that equal 5 over 30? So does 6 5 equal 1 times 30? Yes, so I have a proportion. The next one, a little more difficult. So I need to see, is 3.5 times 8 equal to 2 times 14? And maybe you don't know this off the top of your head, but hopefully you do. This is 28. So I'm looking 3.5 times 8. 8 times 3 is 24, and then a half is 28. So yes, all of these are proportions. Another way to look at it is they want to know what number makes this a proportion. So you can probably tell 5 times 2 is 10, so 3 times 2, so x has to equal 6. Remember, you can always cross multiply these. 5x equals 3 times 10. So x is equal to 6. Either way you do it's fine. Just make sure you know both ways, because sometimes you won't be able to do it one way, you won't be able to do it the other. For instance, let's look at number 6. We'll skip number 5. 5 doesn't easily multiply to equal 8, so you need to cross multiply. Remember, when you do that, you have to use distributive property. So notice how I have 8 and then x plus 4 is in parentheses. So 8x plus 32 is equal to 15. So 8x is equal to negative 17, and I divide by 8. X is equal to negative 2 and 1/8. So again, remember that the unit rate is comparing something to one of another item. Here's some examples: miles per gallon, miles per hour. Okay, 1 minute is 60 seconds, 12 inches is 1 foot, cost per 1 bag. Let's look at the unit rate for number 8. It says in the past 2 years, the store has opened 232 new stores. If the rate remains constant, how many will be opened in the next 3 years? So there's several ways to do this. One is to find the unit rate. If I have 232 new stores, making sure to label it to use units will help you. 2 years, so I can divide that. So that gives me 116 new stores per year. 116 new stores for every 1 year. So then I can multiply my answer by 3. So it gives me 348 new stores per year. Another way to do that is to set it up as a proportion. 232 new stores, 2 years. When you set it up as a proportion, make sure you remember, you do it like this, that what's in the numerator on both is the same. So in this case I have new stores, and the denominator is years. So I don't know how many new stores I will have in the next 3 years. So notice what I'm going to do to solve this. When I cross multiply, I'm going to multiply that by 3, just like I did over here. And then I'm going to divide it by 2, just like I did over here. Either way is a good way to solve it. And the last one. A trail is 1 1/8 of an inch on a map. The scale is 3 inches for 10 miles. What is the actual length of the trail? So remember, once again, when you set up your proportion, just make sure you have the same thing in the numerator as denominator. So it gives me the scale. Which is this. Set it up where the same thing is on both sides. Numerator, numerator, denominator, denominator. 3 inches, 10 miles. So if the trail is 1 1/8 of an inch, then I need to figure out number of miles. So I can cross multiply those. I get 10 times 1 1/8 equals 3 times x. So I got 11 1/4 is equal to 3x. And divide by 3. So I get 3 3/4 of a mile. So guys, don't be afraid of it just because it's a fraction. You have a fraction key in your calculator. Mine looks like this. I can do all that stuff easily with my calculator. 1 1/8. There you go, there's 1 1/8. Times 10. It's 11 1/4 divided by 3. Make sure you rewatch anything you're not clear on, have your notes ready, and take that Edmodo quiz.